Back here on the Wildcat Coaches Show with ACU women's basketball head coach Julie Goodenough. Her team now a perfect 9-0 through the first half of the conference season. Seems like we've been playing longer than half a conference season, Coach, but you can't do any better than 9-0. 14 consecutive wins, punctuated by a really impressive win over Lamar. As you think back to Saturday, why did it work so well? Why did you win by such a margin?
I'll tell you what, that game was really a big surprise to me. I did not expect a margin of victory like that. Lamar is a lot better team than what we saw on Saturday, and we will have just a few days to get ready to tackle them again. But I was really pleased with the way our starters came out and distributed the ball and made extra passes, and we got really good looks, the looks that we wanted offensively, and we were knocking shots down early on in the game. And it's funny how when you're hitting your shots early, it just really elevates your level of play on both ends of the floor. And so you really want to come out and hit your first shot or two just to have some confidence on both ends of the court.
Well, Alexis Mason, who has won the last 3 Player of the Week awards in the conference. By the way, this week's announcement will have come after we record this interview, but before we go on the air with the Coaches Show tonight. But Coach, about the only thing she didn't do exceptionally well on Saturday was maybe make a few shots from three-point range. She still made her share. But when you look at what Alexis Mason has done, from 3 straight Player of the Week awards to setting a new career high in rebounds in consecutive games. She goes 77 games at ACU with no double-doubles and now back-to-back with double-digit points and rebounds. That tells me that this is a player who is, A, working hard. I think she's the only one in the gym as we speak right now, by the way. And it's a player who is dedicated to continuing to get better. That's what I see. How about you?
Yeah, we tell our players all the time that we will not ever ask them to do anything that they cannot do. If we're asking you to change something or do something different, it's because we believe you can do it, that you've got the tool set to do it. And so our perimeter players, it seems like we're constantly, emphasizing to them how important it is to rebound. And we've got 3 of the best rebounders in the league in Lizzie and Susie and Sydney. And they get a lot of rebounds when they're post players or playing in the post position. But, we're always really emphasizing how important it is for everybody to rebound. And, for whatever reason, this week a light bulb went off for Alexis, and she, figured out, hey, I can go get these too. And she has all the tools she needs, the physical ability to do that. And so, when you have a guard crashing the boards as hard as she did in the last 2 games, and then blocking out and pursuing defensive rebounds, I mean, it adds a lot of offensive possessions for your team.
You kept talking about Lamar, for example, Saturday being a tough matchup, not just for your team, but for a lot of teams because of their athleticism. The one thing that, if it wasn't already apparent when the season began, is now readily apparent, evident. Your team is a really tough matchup for just about anybody. You mentioned the 3, I would call front court players, even though Susie plays a lot at the 3. But think about your guard. You have a 5'8"-ish, strong guard in Alexis. And then you get Whitney, who I think surprises a lot of people with her leaping ability. Now, her dad was a great vaulter in college, so it's no surprise. And her sister's a vaulter here at ACU. That's not a surprise, but she can really get up. You've got some things you can do with these players that are maybe outside the traditional role for that position, don't you?
Well, Whitney's a really solid point guard for us. She's a good shooting guard. She goes out and plays wherever I put her and can excel in both positions. But she is a good jumper. And, I think if Greg, her dad, had his way, she would still probably be pole vaulting. But she can really get up. And it's not surprising when she does fly through the air and, yank down a big rebound for us. But she has, really good athletic ability. And I think sometimes when you see her out on the floor, you wouldn't, necessarily say, hey, she's a great athlete. But, man, she's got some jets she can turn on and get down the floor with and without the ball. She can really board it. Really strong lower body that allows her to hit 3-pointers early in the game as well as late in the game. So another, really good athletic kid on our team.
Once every 2, maybe 3 games, she'll block a shot, and it seems to always take the opponent by surprise because, again, she's 5'8" or whatever she is, but she just has the ability to elevate, I think, maybe quicker than people realize. Coach, you had 5 of your first 7 conference games away from Moody Coliseum. I thought it was really impressive to come back home, and you say, well, yeah, we're back home, but it's not a place where you've played many games here of late. And to come back home and to beat two quality teams. Houston Baptist is going to win a lot of games this year. You know that Lamar is going to win its share. They were picked to win the conference when the season started, and they've fought through some injuries. I thought, to me, to take care of business at home was really impressive. Always easier than it always sounds easier than it really is.
Well, it's so hard to win one game. I mean, it really is, and our league is extremely tough. We see a variety of different styles of basketball that you've got to get your team prepared for night after night. And, unless you're in the grind, like going to practices and preparing your team for a competition, you don't really know what all goes into play. And we ask a lot of our players mentally and physically, to learn and get ready to play the next opponent. And this is kind of a unique time in our season right now where we just played a team and now we get to play them again. So we're not learning a whole new system preparing for Lamar. But, we ask a lot of our players, and it was fun to get back home. We had a whole week at home, which we haven't had that in a long time. I was looking back, and it was like mid-November when we had our last Saturday 2 o'clock game at home. And so it was fun to be at home. Even though we beat Houston Baptist, I felt like we played sloppy in areas and I was not really thrilled with how we played against Houston Baptist. And so we really stressed to our players, hey, we get to play at home again. Let's look like this is where we practice all the time. Let's hit the shots that we practice. Let's execute like we do in this gym, every day for practice. And I think our players really bought into that. And, I kind of exaggerate with our players sometimes, but I tell them, we play better on the road, and we'll have 5 or 6 fans on the road. Now we're in our house, and we've got 1,500, 2,000 people here watching us. We need to show them how we've been playing on the road, and I think that our players really did a good job of that on Saturday. I mean, I thought it was a very well played game from start to finish for our team, and had lots of contributions from subs coming into the bench. Our starters started us off well, and so very well played game by the entire team.
Well, you and I have talked about this many times before and after games. Because of some of the recent foul trouble that your team has gotten in, and each game is a new adventure with the officials, because you're having to learn. Pitchers have to deal with that in baseball and softball. How is this umpire going to call balls and strikes? You don't know how a particular set of officials will call fouls out on the perimeter and driving to the basket. You have to figure that out each game. Well, you've gotten into some foul trouble. But as you and I have discussed, it's given some players who may not otherwise have gotten as much playing time the chance. I think about Sarah Williamson. As the year has gone on, I have seen, maybe I'm misreading this, but I just kind of sense from her a comfort level that's beginning to emerge. It's tough when you're a freshman, especially with all those upperclassmen. I sense a little more confidence in her. Is that fair?
Yeah, and Sarah's just a gamer. She's just ready for the games, and she's ready to compete. And when her number's called, you can expect her to come out and give you great effort. She was like a new player on Saturday. She had the straight hair going on and looked like a different member joining our team. And, gosh, she just played with such great confidence. And I thought it might have been her best offensive job of really reading the defense and taking what they gave her, whether it was, she needs to take the three or she needs a post feed or put the ball on the floor. And she just seemed, just to echo what you said, just very confident with the ball and did a great job of reading the defense and figuring out how to beat the defense.
I love the fact that on two moments stick out to me. She had in the first half, she had I'm going to say a right wing 3-point opportunity, shot faked, drove to the basket, and got a lay in. And then in the second half, on your end of the floor, right in front of opposite side of the court, but in the second half, she catches in rhythm and buries a corner three. Every player, no matter what classification you are, has to make a decision. Am I going to launch this thing, or am I going to go to the basket? That to me, those two moments, both were the right decision, it seemed like.
Absolutely, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I was just going through some game film this morning, and that's a perfect example of just reading the defense. Am I shot ready? Is the defense on me? Is my post player open? I mean, there's just so many things that we ask the offensive players to read, and I thought she did a great job of that on Saturday. Yeah,
there's not necessarily a right or wrong. It's just something you have to decide there in a split second. So now you're 9-0 in the conference. You are 18-2 overall. Have you, as you think back, and this is your 22nd year as a head coach, first of all, have you had streaks longer than 14 within a season?
You'd have to ask my husband. I don't keep up with anything like that. I don't know.
Whitney tells me she keeps up, that Tanner keeps up with her 3-point total. So I'll ask Rob next time I see him. But there isn't there, a fine line in any sport for any head coach between riding that confidence that you have from a win streak and having that crossover into complacency or taking for granted. How are you combating that? I think I know the answer, but I want to hear how do you combat keeping it from going into the complacency mode?
Well, I think that responsibility is totally on the shoulders of our staff. Our staff has to make sure that that we are being critical in practice and pointing out areas that we can still improve on. And we're getting ready for practice today and looking at some of our deficiencies from the past 2 games. How can we get better in these areas? And so it's our job in practice not to allow our players to coast, but to make sure that we're moving forward skill-wise, that we're moving forward with our competitive spirit. I credit our juniors and seniors with our competitive practices that we've had this year. I mean, they came in during preseason and, made sure that all of our practices were very competitive and game speed, and they've continued to do that. But as a staff, we've got to put together a practice that, allows for improvement. We have an incredible male scout team, and they come in, last week they were with us 4 days during the week, and, they run the other team's stuff. And, if we can have some success against them, we know that we're ready to play the game. And they take a lot of pride in, taking things away from our girls. If they can come in and score on us, then they feel pretty good about what they're doing. But that male scout team has made a huge difference in just our ability, I think, to overcome adversity. They get kind of mouthy with us sometimes and talk smack during practice when they.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a pretty good group of confident young men that come in and play against us. But it has been critical, I think, throughout the success during conference play to have them here. It was hard over Christmas break to prepare for opponents that were bigger and faster than us because it was just ourselves here. And so that male scout team has been incredible for us. And they're loyal. I mean, they come to practice, they're ready to go, and they really challenge us. So, we do take everything just one day at a time. Obviously we enjoy winning games and celebrating, and now it's time to get back to earth today and focus on getting better in some certain areas.
I want to ask you one more question about the win streak here in just a second, but about the scout team. The first time I can remember hearing about a women's collegiate team having a male scout team was Pat Summitt in the University of Tennessee. When did you begin doing that, and where did you get the idea?
When I was at Hardin-Simmons, we had JV teams, and so we had some of the men's JV players work out with us at Hardin-Simmons, not on as much of a regular basis as we do now, but we had a scout team at Oklahoma State. We had a scout team of football walk-ons at Charleston Southern.
Whoa.
Yeah, they were really good. Not such skilled basketball players, but fast and strong. And so, I've used male scout players everywhere that I've been.
Do you, with the accolades that begin to come, not only are we seeing humongous front page pictures and stories, for example, in the Abilene Reporter News these days after yet another win, we're seeing, this is how you know you've made it, you're seeing the stories between games about how well the team is doing. There's a lot of talk now, 14 straight wins, 18-2, WNIT, maybe WBI, something like that. Are you finding that the players are self-policing some of that, or are you mentioned your staff, are you trying to say, let's block that stuff out, we don't want to talk about win streaks or postseason or anything? Or do you want to talk about it?
It doesn't come up in our locker room. I mean, our girls may be talking about it when we're not in there, but when we're with our team, we just talk about the task at hand. The only thing we can control is practice today. And so we just really talk about the task at hand. And, the newspaper articles, the stories on the local news stations, we really appreciate that. I think it just puts ACU out there. I think, I run into people weekly who want to talk about ACU basketball and ACU athletics, and they still don't understand that we're Division I, that we're we're at a different level than we've ever played at. You know, we play people like TCU and Tech and Wichita State and Nevada and, you know, just whoever. I mean, we're Division I. It's different than it's ever been. It's a different level than Hardin, Simmons, and McMurray. You know, it's not Lone Star. And so I think just having the ability to get an extra story in the paper, to have the news station come out. I think it helps ACU athletics in general just to, educate even our best fans, you know, just educate people in Abilene, educate ACU fans on truly what we're doing, that Division I is totally different than anything we've ever done in the athletic department.
14 straight wins on any level is impressive, but when you do it on the Division I level, here's a little context for you. ACU's women's team now has the 5th longest active win streak in the nation. Number 1, you may have heard of them, UConn. And then you have South Carolina. And then you get down to 5th longest, and it's Abilene Christian. All right, let's finish up by talking about Lamar. You briefly mentioned them a moment ago. Each game is its own unique melodrama in a way. So whether it was a 38-point win or rather a 28-point win or a 2-point win, the point is the next game is probably going to be different. It's a different gym. They're on their home court, and you're ready for. I mean, you're prepared. But this is the first time you'll go back and play a team for a second time.
Right. And we have 9 games left. 8 of those we've seen before, so we're going to start seeing people for a second time. This turnaround is really quickly to see the team that we just played on Saturday. But Lamar shoots the ball way better than they did in our gym on Saturday. And it kind of sucks the life out of you a little bit when you're not hitting shots that you're used to shooting or hitting. Our team did not do a very good job of blocking out and rebounding. And I feel like Lamar is going to hit shots at home on Thursday. They didn't hit here. Chances are we won't shoot the ball as well at their place as we did here, since it'll be our first time there this season. So it'll be a completely different game. I mean, you truly do have a huge home court advantage when you get to play at home and play in the gym where you practice every day. You have your fans there and another just incredible crowd here on Saturday. It's fun to watch game film, and, you know, you hit a shot and you can just hear the place erupt. You know, it brings a lot of energy to your team. But it will be a totally different game on Thursday. Us traveling there, you know, you've got a lot of components that play into that. You know, Lamar had to travel all the way here. And so anyway, you know, we're preparing. We are now a little more familiar. Our team has ability to put names and faces together and kind of understand what their players do on the floor, what they do well. And so, you know, it's kind of like you do start over a little bit, like, hey, remember, this is what they do well. This is what we have to counter. So we're, you know, kind of back to the drawing boards, like, this is what we've got to do and you know, follow through the game plan to be successful on Thursday.
Well, this is a team that has won 9 consecutive road games. They'll get 2 more chances this week. Lamar, 7 o'clock Thursday night down in Beaumont, and then Saturday, a 1 p.m. tip-off against Southeastern Louisiana in Hammond. Both games you can catch here on the ACU Sports Network. For Julie Goodenough, we'll step aside for the moment and come back with more on the Wildcat Coaches Show here in just a moment.